we're seeing the visual of what a failed national policy is producing. And when I speak to my colleagues in other cities, they're saying the same thing. It's not unique to New York. We have to fix this with a national solution.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the criminal aliens from New York City, the so-called migrants who attacked NYPD officers right there in Times Square and then were released from jail with no bail and allegedly fled to California immediately afterward. Well, they have been arrested at a bus stop in Arizona, and I'm sure Arizona will have no problem sending them back to New York City, extraditing them to maybe be held accountable for their actions. And the reason why I say maybe be held accountable is because at this point, New York City, New York State has a reputation for going very soft on criminals. Remember, these so-called migrants, the criminal aliens, attacked NYPD officers, not one but two, and mob violence, gang violence, kicking them, stomping them, punching them. That right there should be an automatic felony. You shouldn't be able to get out with no bail. But that's what happened, and they fled. Now they're going to come back. Will they stay in jail this time? Who knows? But there's more to this story, because you have Governor Kathy Hochul of New York. She's furious on the whole situation. She wants these criminal aliens deported. Eric Adams, as I showed you at the very beginning, is complaining about how bad the problem is. But the issue with Kathy Hochul and Eric Adams is that they're not getting down to the core of the problem, which is that they are a sanctuary city and state, respectively. Now, you have some lawmakers in New York State, a lot of Republicans, who want the sanctuary status of the state to be revoked, so we can actually get something done when you're talking about the so-called migrant crisis. You see what's happening right here on the screen. You see this headline. Lawmakers want New York City to resume cooperating with ICE after migrant arrests. Now, the whole thing about a sanctuary city, state, whatever, is that they do not talk to ICE. They do not tell ICE about the immigration status of people in their state to prevent deportation. That's what New York State does right now. And if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But lawmakers are like, look, this is just becoming too much. We got too many criminal aliens, too many aliens in general. Get them out of here. Let's stop this whole sanctuary city, sanctuary state nonsense. Now, will these lawmakers' voice be heard in New York? I don't know, but I hope so, for you guys' sake up there in the Empire State. And you see, here's another headline right here. Migrant man busted for drunkenly fighting cops at Randall's Island shelter, sending one to the hospital. Now, this is the kind of thing we're talking about right here, okay? You got the migrants in here fighting, committing crime, all kind of stuff. Well, ABL is only 1% of the total population. Is that what you think? Is that the case? Why were there 40 arrests at one hotel in Manhattan, Times Square, at that area, the Roosevelt? Why is there so much drunkenness, fighting, carrying on? Why is there so much of that? Why is there such a influx of that if it's only 1% of the population? If it's 1%, it's a pretty vocal and destructive 1%. Now, here is a video. I'm going to turn the sound down. But here is a video of kind of what the migrants do. You see, this is somebody being dragged from a scooter, because what the migrants, the so-called migrants, do is they rob people for their items, cell phones, wallets, purses, or whatever. And this is a little perp walk. That's what they do. The migrants who attack the NYPD officers are part of a gang like this, who go up there just to rob people for iPhones, for jewelry, for whatever they can find. Okay. Now, this particular video was captioned with Venezuelan migrants. They say that's who's doing it. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's not. Maybe the guys who did the NYPD attack were Venezuelan. I have no idea. They're from somewhere south of the border, obviously Hispanic from that particular region. Spanish speaking is clearly, you can see what's going on here. It's not really hard to tell. Now, I think this might be the Randall's Island situation. I'll turn the sound on for this one. So we in there, we got like an amateur Muay Thai fight. We got amateur little boxing fight. Wild man got his shirt off. Like, what's really going on? This is what's happening in New York City. Now, we have another video here. We're going to get to the whole kerfuffle with the migrants who were arrested in Arizona. Again, hopefully these guys are held accountable in New York for what they did to the officers. But knowing how New York is, knowing how these liberal policies work, that's going to be a tall order. That's going to be a tough ask. And if you want to see this video and any of the others I play in the full video, link will be in the box. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Several migrants suspected in an attack on 2 NYPD officers near Times Square were reportedly picked up by ICE agents in Arizona. This, as many are criticizing the district attorney for not holding the suspects on bail. Fox 5's Robert Moses is...
So you only got 2 of them. Now, from what I heard in the beginning, there was at least 4, maybe 5 guys in total that fled. So if you got 2, where are the other 2 or 3? Just kind of in the wind, just floating out there. This wouldn't be a thing if you would have kept them in jail. Obviously, when you're dealing with criminal aliens, there are flight risk. Clearly, then they could just go right back to their country of origin. They can go, like, if they walk one way to get to where you are, they could go back the very same way. These are not New York City residents.
Outside Manhattan Criminal Court in Lower Manhattan this morning with the very latest. Robert, good morning.
Gina, good morning to you. This case has generated national attention, controversy, and a manhunt. That search appears to have paid dividends with the arrests of at least some of the migrants who had skipped town. And Customs Enforcement, along with the Department of Homeland Security, arrested several of the migrants accused of beating 2 NYPD officers in Times Square on January 27th. The takedowns happened yesterday at a Greyhound bus station in Phoenix, according to Fox News.
So I'm counting 3 people right here. So if they caught 2, who's the 3rd person?
News, which obtained this picture from an ICE source. 4 of the migrants who were released without bail after their arrests are believed to have fled for California by bus. There are no details yet about which of the migrants were arrested yesterday. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg says his office plans to present charges to the grand jury later today.
Despicable behavior.
Bragg has been heavily criticized for not requesting bail for most of the suspects arrested for the attack. He defended his decision-making on Friday.
We make decisions based on the evidence we have before us at the time. Our profound obligation is to make sure we have the right people charged with the right crimes.
My man, you had them on videotape. Like, what more do you need? Weren't they arrested right there on the spot and you got a videotape? What other evidence do we need? And if they're not the right guys, then why was there a national manhunt for them? Why'd you have to go all the way to Arizona and spend all those resources to find these guys way out west? But you could have just had them right there in New York City.
Bragg said that one defendant, 24-year-old Henry Brito, is currently being held on bail. The NYPD's chief of patrol criticized prosecutors for not asking for bail for most of the offenders.
You touch a cop, you should go to jail. I mean, it's really that simple. But this is why it's happening. No consequences, and our cops are getting hurt out there. Unacceptable.
Governor Kathy Hochul has called for the deportation of migrants found to be responsible for the assaults on the officers.
Get them all and send them back.
Yeah, okay, Kathy, you know, tough talking, but again, you're a sanctuary state, so you're inviting the very same guys you're talking about deporting. So you got to make it make sense. You got to do things that are logical.
Henry Brito, who is the lone suspect being held on bail right now, is due back in court later on today. His appearance is set for 9 a.m. here in Lower Manhattan, and we do expect to hear more from ICE about those arrests yesterday in Phoenix. Gina, back to you.
Robert Moses there with Fox 5 New York. Robert, always very detailed and informative.
So there we have it. That's what's going on. You got some of the migrants, the criminal aliens in New York City, arrested out there in Arizona for their attack on NYPD police officers in Times Square. Now, as I close, I want to say this. This was ridiculous from New York. I mean, really, a manhunt for guys that you had and let go? I mean, how dumb are you? To make an extreme case, to just solidify the point, You have the Unabomber. You have him on videotape setting up the bombs, igniting them or whatever. You got him in custody. You have him in jail. Oh, no, no bail, let him out. He won't be a flight risk. And then you got to go on an international manhunt to find him. You find him in Cuba somewhere hiding out in the hovel. You just spent all this money, millions of dollars. Why? Now, I'm not sure how much they spent on the manhunt. If they just wanted cooperation from their people out west to look out for these guys, I have no idea. But I'm sure there was some money spent. There was some time spent if there was a manhunt when you could have just not let them out, had them right there, and then it wouldn't have been the problem. This is incompetence at a certain point and just really bad policy overall. And if this kind of thing continues, you're going to see more of these criminal aliens coming to New York City, doing whatever they want to do, whenever they want to do it. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on what happened here? They found the criminal aliens out there in Arizona. Should they have been held in jail in New York City rather than having to go on the national manhunt? How you feel about Eric Adams and Kathy Hochul? They're upset about what's happening with the migrants, but they don't want to do what's necessary to stop it, to put a pause in it, to slow it down. If you're not a sanctuary city and state, then maybe you won't have such an issue with this. It's not really hard to understand. You're talking about deportation. How are you going to have that when you don't report to ICE about the status of these criminal aliens? It doesn't make any sense at all. Let's do things that make sense. Let's have sound, competent policy rather than just emotional reaction, speeches, buzzwords. Let's get down to solving the actual problem. And of course, the source, as we all know, is the wide open southern border, which lets thousands of these people through the wall every single day. No wall, just open land at this point. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.